We live within a global network of eyes, interlocking GPS, radar, and satellite systems that map nearly every square meter of the planet. In this environment, the very concept of vanishing has begun to feel like a mathematical impossibility. Yet even this total digital coverage remains porous. History continues to be punctuated by events where people, vessels, and entire aircraft slip through the mesh and never return. The most persistent mysteries are those that leave behind a physical trail that contradicts itself, a collection of evidence that refuses to fit into a logical narrative of what is possible. These anomalies appear across every era: a 16th century medical panic, an 1872 naval logbook, a 1950s autopsy report from the Russian interior, and the digital handshake of a modern jetliner. Examining the specific physical remnants of these events reveals the limits of our forensic science. They prove that even with total surveillance, we can still be confronted by the inexplicable. In 1518, the city of Strasbourg was consumed by a biological crisis that began with a single person. Frau Trophia stepped into a public street and began a rhythmic, silent movement that would soon compel hundreds to join her. The physical reality was gruesome. Records describe people dancing until their feet were shredded, continuing through strokes and heart attacks. Their bodies were physically breaking, yet the behavior remained unstoppable. A different kind of override appeared in 1872, when the British ship Dei Gratia spotted the merchant vessel Mary Celeste drifting in the Atlantic. They found a ship that had been abandoned by everyone on board, including its experienced commander, Captain Benjamin Briggs. The vessel was in good condition: 6 months of food untouched, a water pump disassembled, but entirely seaworthy. The only sign of departure was a missing lifeboat. Both cases involve a total departure from survival instincts, whether it was the inability to rest while fatally exhausted or the decision to abandon a safe ship for the open sea. In 1959, the investigation into the Dyatlov Pass incident confronted a scene that defied conventional trauma analysis. 9 highly experienced hikers had disappeared during a winter expedition in the Ural Mountains. When their camp was found, the tent provided the first contradiction. It had been slashed open, but the fabric was cut from the inside. The group had fled into a sub-zero night in such a state of panic they didn't use the zipper. Searchers found the group scattered in the snow, many nearly naked, despite their expert survival training. They had walked into a freezing death, leaving behind the very gear designed to save them. The autopsies were the most baffling. Several victims suffered internal damage, crushed ribs, and fractured skulls, equivalent to the force of a high-speed collision. Yet, there were no corresponding external bruises or soft tissue injuries to explain how that force was applied. Investigators were left with a paradox: internal injuries massive enough to suggest a high-impact event, found on bodies with no external trauma, in a remote mountain pass where no such impact was possible. Even our most sophisticated modern tracking systems can be bypassed. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 departed Kuala Lumpur with 239 people on board, entering a digital environment designed to make it impossible to get lost. Less than an hour into the flight, the Boeing 777 began deviating sharply from its path to Beijing. Moments later, the aircraft's transponder was severed, making the plane invisible to secondary civilian radar. After vanishing from radar, the plane's satellite data unit lost power. An hour later, it logged back on to the Inmarsat network. It recorded 7 automated handshakes over 6 hours, indicating it flew relentlessly south until its fuel exhausted in the remote Indian Ocean. Despite having this precise satellite timeline, the most expensive search in aviation history failed to locate the main wreckage. The map of the search area illustrates the sheer scale of the void the aircraft entered. MH370 proves that even within a matrix of total surveillance, a massive machine can exploit technical blind spots, leaving behind only these digital echoes. The shredded feet in Strasbourg, the disassembled Mary Celeste water pump, the slashed tent in the Urals, and the silent satellite handshakes over the Indian Ocean. These remnants do not provide a clear path to a solution. Instead, they act as boundary markers where our standard methods of investigation reach their limit. They reveal a landscape where the more data we collect, the less the event seems to make sense. These events persist in our memory because they challenge our sense of control. They are physical reminders that we are not yet fully masters of our own minds, our environment, or the machines we built to traverse them. We have networked the sky and mapped the ocean floor, but the world remains vast enough to keep its difficult secrets hidden in plain sight.